Hey, a pleasant good day, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of True Philadelphian Sportscast, The Grittiest Take. This is going to be our next section of the best Flyers of our lifetime bracket from 96 onward of Andrew and I's lifetime. Steele, of course, is a few years older than us, so he knows a few more about these players from the 90s, which is why we're so happy to have him on. And we'll go to him first again to introduce himself and see how he's doing on this fine Friday. So how you doing today, Steele, a.k.a. Ron?
Hey, I'm doing great. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on here. We had a blast the last time, and I've been looking forward to this next one. You can reach me on Twitter at Steel Flyers, and then stay tuned for a website coming out here real soon, www.steelflyers.com. Should be coming out with that here real soon too, and also a Facebook page. So all kinds of fun stuff coming up in the works. But like I said, man, it's an honor to be on here with you guys, and I feel very blessed to be here. Thank you very much.
And plus, your first podcast came out the other day. Your Steel Flyers podcast
Yep.
came out the other day as well. So you can check them out at the Steel Flyers podcast as well. And then, Andrew, how you doing this Friday afternoon? I know you talked about before you got on, it's still hot as heck over there. But other than that, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing really well. Have a nice off day today before the nice holiday weekend here with the 4th of July. So very nice to have this off day and not have to worry about going into work. So it's been really nice to kind of just chill, do nothing, and catch up on some other things this morning. And now getting ready to do this podcast. So it's been a pretty good day so far.
Okay, gotcha. And that's a good thing because, I mean, I know you said it's been really hot, so I know obviously you don't have a lot to do outside still with quarantine. So, I mean, that's kind of the unfortunate thing this year. By the time we're all going to be able to do stuff outside, it's going to be too hot to do anything outside anyway. Um, but the
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I don't want to be outside when it's this ugly. I mean, look, it's beautiful. There's like barely a cloud in the sky, and there's a slight little breeze blowing, but it feels really thick and ugly and hot, and no thanks.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the way it is down here in Oklahoma as well. I mean, I know when I first got back here after coming back after the whole quarantine and coronavirus started, it wasn't too bad. So I was outside playing basketball in outdoor courts here, and then all of a sudden it's been like 100 degrees and above each day. So it's just saying my outdoor basketball has kind of came to a halt until it gets a little cooler. Because for example, yesterday it felt like 110. So that's not outdoor basketball
no,
weather.
that's not outdoor. That's not outdoor shoot around.
Oh, that's not outdoor nothing.
Yeah. But anyway, we'll move into our first round, which should be like last time, a pretty quick move on from our first to 16. Our first is, of course, a Hall of Famer in Eric Lindros. He played here from the early 90s, 92, 93 through the 2000 season, amassing 290 goals and 369 assists for 659 points. And he was also the 94-95 Hart winner. And he finished top 10 in the Hart in 96, 97, and the 99 season. And he was also top 20 in the Selke 3 times in his Flyers career. Then we have fan favorite speedster skater Scotty Upstall, who played from 06-07 to 08-09, who had a decent career with the Flyers in that short stretch of 27 goals, 37 assists for a total of 64 points. But, of course, in this one, it's going to go to the legend, the Hall of Famer, who would have been even 5 times better than he was if he didn't have all the injuries and other issues we don't have time to get into in this podcast. Off the ice. So there's also that. So that gives him the nod over it because you had the family, you had the injuries, and he still was one of the best players in franchise history. So he clearly gets the nod here. And for this one, since I went to Steele to introduce himself first, I'll go to Andrew to see what he thinks on this one first.
Yeah, I think as much as a fan favorite Scotty Upshall was, I don't think this one's close. I mean, one, like you mentioned, Lindros is in the Hall of Fame. Two, he's a two-time All-Star. He won the Hart Trophy, won the Pearson Trophy. So again, I don't think in the 94-95 season. So I don't think it's much of a competition on this one. So it's going to be a pretty easy vote for Lindros.
I would totally agree with that. And then Theo, I'm assuming that's exactly the way it is.
Oh no, I'm definitely gonna go with the Big E. Come on. I got a chance to watch him play quite a few times, and one of the games I got to see him play was at Pittsburgh. Watched him play against and all that, and this was like right about that time when Lemieux was starting to thinking about coming to the end, and it was like the whole torch passing kind of game where it was like, okay, we think that Lindros is going to be the next, here you go, here's the torch, pass that over to you, you're good, and but it just unfortunately never happened. Hall of Fame player, one of the greatest flyer of all times. He's without a doubt worthy of his status. Real shame though, because watching him get hurt, that just takes it all out. That's not why you play the game. You don't play the game to see that kind of stuff and to hurt people like that. And it was just a real shame that a really, really generational player had to go out like that. So, but yeah, I'm definitely going with Eric Lindros on that. So
Yeah, you got to go Lindros there. I think that one's rather easy. And then now to mix it up, I'll go with our first, which is probably the easier of the two goalie matchups due to the tenure that the one guy was here. But number 6, Mason versus number 11, Bobrovsky. When you look at Steve Mason, who played from 2012-13 through 2016-17 season, excuse me, and in his 2013-14 season, he was actually 7 in the Vezina with a 250 goals against, 225, 251, and 266 in his years here, respectively. And he had a 917 save when he was 7 in the Vezina, which is funny because he had a 928 the next year and a 225 goals against and wasn't even top 10 in the Vezina.
Yeah, right.
He had a pretty productive few years here. And then, of course, Bobrovsky had a very short first 2 years of his career here. He went 28-13 to finish 7th in the Calder with a 915 and 259. Then he struggled a little bit in his second year, but was still a fan favorite at times that a lot of people, of course, were not happy when we decided to get rid of Bob. But he's a guy that was only here for a short time. So I'm interested in Steele to see who you decide to go with here, Bob or Steve Mason.
Steve Mason had a much longer career here and had much better goals against average for us, played more significant time in games for us. So to me, that pretty much outweighs based off of the time that they played in Philadelphia. Bobrovsky, he's one of those players where I wish we would have never gotten rid of, but well, guess it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't.
Well, what can you say? We're sitting back here, kind of looking back and going, man, I wish we would have just kept a hold of him. We probably could have had a chance, to win more or be potentially further along winning cups or whatever. Who knows? Because doesn't that figure the year he leaves or the second year he leaves, he wins the Vezina Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
Going to Columbus, and it's like, oh, well, gosh.
I think you were right the first time. I'm pretty sure it was the first year he left.
First year, yeah. And here's the other thing, too, about Mason that you didn't mention was that he did win the Calder Trophy.
Yeah, but that was with Columbus. That's why.
Right, with Columbus. But, so like I said, yeah, I think Bob all around is a much better goalie. And let's face it, Bob's still playing.
Yeah.
And I believe Mason was on Winnipeg until, 2018?
Correct.
I believe he finished that after the 18th season with Winnipeg.
Yeah. So, Bob's still playing. They're both the same age. So Bob's making what did he sign in Florida? What's that? $7 million a year or something crazy stupid like that?
It was 10 million.
10 mil. Hey, whatever. That's So what does that tell you? I mean, Bobrovsky, I think all around is a much better goalie, but not in orange and black. I'm going to go with Steve Mason with that all the way. And I liked Mason, and he played a lot of good games for us, and I really liked Mason. I thought he had a good shot. We just didn't play in front of him.
No, yeah, he was a really good goalie. He came over here and played really well. He had his second wind here in Philadelphia after he slowed down in Columbus before we did the swap there. And that benefited both goalies. It just, of course, benefited Bob more in the longer haul since he got a huge payday from Florida. And we'll see where that works out for him. And with that, organization's inconsistencies down there, not so good first year, but we'll see where it goes from here. But I agree with you with all you said. Steve Mason definitely would be the guy. But Andrew, what's your reasoning for? I'm assuming you would also pick Mason here.
No, I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go Bob in this situation. I think when I break these two guys down, and I understand Mason had a longer time here in Philadelphia, but I think the goals against, I mean, if you break it down, yeah, Mason wins, but I think it's a slight edge. It's only 2.47 to 2.73. If you break it down to winning percentage, Bob won more games while he was here. He won 54% of his games compared to Steve Mason at 47%. When Bob had a full season in his rookie year, when he played 54 games, he started 52 games. He won 28 games. So I never understood why the Flyers didn't really give him the chance he deserved in 11 and 12, as he only started 25 that following year. So I think that was a big knock on the organization as a whole more than him. If you look at quality starts, Steve Mason had a quality start percentage of 55% here, while Bob had a quality start percentage of 58%. So again, it's pretty close all in all, but I think there's more than just going to the goals against. I think looking at everything overall, you kind of saw what Bob had to offer that rookie season and everything. I thought I always felt more comfortable in winning a game when I saw Bob out there than Mason.
Man, I have to agree with you on that because when Bobrovsky came in and just was lights out at the console center, that was like, what? A goalie that could come in and play in Pittsburgh and be lights out? All right. We'll take that. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like I said, I thought he was one of those guys that we should have never gotten rid of. But if you're going to zero in on just the 2 years and just average everything out in just those 2 years based off of Mason and Bobrovsky, then yeah, I think you're gonna have to take Bobrovsky just because of the number of games that he played and won. But we're going based off of the time that they were here. So obviously Mason played way more games. So, but if you just narrow it down to those 2 years, then yeah, you'd have to go with Bobrovsky. But overall, I would still take Mason.
Yeah,
based off what he played here.
Yeah, I'm more taking because he also finished. He could have made, like I said, he actually had a better year the year he wasn't. He played a few less games. He played 61 the year he was in the top 7 in the Vezina, but he had a better statistical year, including in quality start percentage. This season after he was top 7 in the Vezina and wasn't in the top 10 or 15 or whatever that year. So he had 2 back-to-back very good years, then had a third very solid year, then kind of just fizzled out in his 4th year and didn't do much of anything. So for me, it's just because of tenure. Bob played, I think, 1 more season here. He probably would have been ahead of Steve Mason for me because that's where his skill level was at. He had a down sophomore year, and then he probably would have completely bounced back in his campaign like he did with Columbus the next year. And I doubt Mason would have been ahead of him in my mind. Then it's more just because of tenure, the fact that he could have made an all-star game some of those years too, but because of the competition in goaltending, he was 6th in voting in 14, 15. So those kind of weigh for me.
Yeah, I'm not looking. I mean, it depends on how much difference in the time here. And when it's not like Mason played his whole career here, it's not like you're talking about a true flyer. Like he kind of jumped around other teams.
Bob, that's more.
Yeah, but I think Bob's best season was just as good as Mason's best season. And again, Bob gave you the better win percentage and stuff like that. So I think it's pretty close. But I have to give the edge to Bob here again, just because I think he was kind of treated unfair in a way in that next season, and kind of when he was pushed out. And I'm sure that when you don't have the trust from your organization, that's going to affect you that second season. And you saw his numbers kind of dip a little bit. But again, what he was able to do overall in those 2 seasons combined, I just think that outweighs some of the things Mason did. But
53.
Gotcha. I just had it more for tenure. Bob is a guy that's obviously going to go down as a much better goalie when time is said and done. He already is than Steve Mason in his career. What might hurt him, of course, is going down to Florida, which is sometimes where certain players go to die. But but we'll see what happens there. But anyway, we're now moved into our next one, which is I'll go to the 5 and 12 matchup because that's involving two fan favorites. We got JVR, and then we also got Mike Knuble. And JVR, of course, played in 09, 010 to 11 and 12, and then, of course, from 18-19 to presently. And in that time, he has 94 assists, 187 points, with 93 goals and finished 11 in the Calder in his first year. Knuble for the team playing from 05-06 to 08-09 and then coming back at age 40 in his 12 and 13 season. Had 118 goals, 111 assists, and 229 points. Both of those guys were very good in terms of stepping in front of the net. Knuble was obviously not the skater that JVR is, but both of those guys know how to get their deflections in front of the net and really pay their presence in front of the net. But because of this one's actually tough to pick, but I would say going off of the fact that I personally believe JVR can be a 28 to 30 some goal scorer, and I think he will stay here, and he would have been at a much better total this year if it wasn't for injuries, because he was rocking it when he came back. I'm going to still lean him because I think he has a few more years here under that contract, and I don't think we're going to let him go. So therefore, I think his numbers are going to pass Mike Knuble. And he's already, when you look at him eyesight-wise, definitely a more dynamic player than Mike Knuble. It's just Knuble was able to get all those dirty goals every time. Knuble was a player that was like reminded you of a player on the Bruins. He would just score all these crappy goals that would piss him off all the time if he won on the team. But that's why I would go with JVR, just because the skill set's there a little bit over Mike Knuble. But I went with – who did I go with first last time?
Steele.
Okay, then I'll let you go this time, Andrew. Would you go with Mike Knuble or JVR?
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you again. I'm going Mike Knuble. Yeah, JVR might be the better overall skater and everything, but when you break these two guys down, like they both have been here 5 years, yeah, we might re-sign JVR, but I'm not going to assume he's going to kind of take his game to the next level after 11 years in his career. I mean, you break these two guys down in their time with the Flyers. I mean, Knuble was the better playmaker overall. I mean, you look at assists, 111 to 94, so he gives his teammates a better opportunity to score. You look at total points, 229 to 187 in Philly. You look at plus minus 25, a positive 25 for Knuble compared to an 8 for JVR. And then, I mean, you look at goals, it's 118 to 93 in 5 seasons. So for me, I mean, as much as I like JVR and like you said, he's a fan favorite, I think Mike Knuble overall had a better time here in Philly. I think he was more reliable to get out there on the ice every day. He played 82 games in 3 seasons, 3 of his 5 seasons with the Flyers. Like you mentioned, JVR has kind of had injuries here and there. It kind of derailed his season a little bit this year. He's come back pretty well, and he's played the majority of the games. Don't get me wrong, but overall, I think even in his time before he left Philly, he missed games, and I feel like that's one of the reasons why they didn't keep him the first time is because of the injury history he had before he kind of went on to prove himself in Toronto. So I think overall, for me, it's got to go Mike Knuble here.
Yeah, that would be what I would have picked, just going from stat. It's more just JVR is a guy that can affect the game, especially when you looked at his play in at times in that 09 and 10 season, like he came on, burst onto the scene, and you could see him fending the defenders off and using his hands to deke around people. Like he's a guy that's definitely more dynamic and can. Knuble had more assists, but that's also because Mike Knuble was one of the smartest hockey players you would see on the ice. He was one of the
well, and that's something you got to take into account, though.
Oh,
he had
yeah,
better IQ, so that helps.
I understand.
That helps my argument.
But JVR also doesn't have a bad hockey IQ. JVR is more skilled than Mike Knuble. It's just the Flyers are.
But see, I don't know if I agree with that. If you're so much more skilled, why aren't you putting the team in a better spot to win?
Hey, I'm actually gonna go with Andrew on this one because I like what Knuble did when he came to the team, and I think he's got. Mike Knuble was one of those guys where you were exactly right. He was one of those guys that could stand in front of the net and get those ugly goals, but he also wasn't afraid to go to the corners and play dirty and get the scrums and all that other stuff. He was also a late bloomer. He was a really old rookie. The fact that he played so well with the Flyers that he was able to come back at age 40. And how many games did he play at age 40 for us? And what did he do? I mean, yeah. Right. So I think Knuble has a better power play game. I'm not denying the fact that JVR is a better skater. I'm not denying that at all. I also feel that JVR was one of those guys that we should have never gotten rid of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because what did he do? He went to Toronto and scored 20, 30 goals a year. What? What? You trade the guy away right in the prime of his life? What are you doing?
You also traded him away for your third or fourth best defender.
Yeah, and we got Shen for it too and all that, but so what? I'd have much rather kept JVR.
That's my
because we drafted him and everything. You know what I mean? Come on.
That's my biggest thing. That's why this one's really tough for me, because when you look at Knuble, he was very good on the ice, but when you look at JVR is a guy that's great in front of the net, is good on the power play, but also has the ability to shoot and has a very deceptively sneaky wrist shot, which Knuble had an accurate shot, but definitely did not have the strongest when it came to just shooting the puck, where JVR is a better dynamic player because he also is better when he's coming down the ice at shooting, where Mike Knuble was much better player when it came to camping in front of the net and just finding the best places on the ice. That's why this one was so tough for me, because they're both great in front of the net, but besides in front of their net, they're not really the same types of play. So that's why it was really tough for me to pick. But I just went JVR because of skill level more over the amount of stats there. I just look at his game and go, he has the in front of the net presence. Plus,
yeah, but I think it's more than that.
He can also shoot the puck. And JVR also with AV, we have seen him look his best this year when in on the other end of the puck as well, which is something Knuble was better than Van Riemsdyk at, obviously. But we saw JVR can improve that this year. Mm-hmm. So that also has made me lean a little bit towards him, but it doesn't make a difference anyway, and we'll move on to the next one because
oh, just like that, huh? like me and Andrew are like, hey, wait a minute. We both think Knuble should be on the list here, man. So what?
Well, no, I mean that's who won, because you guys it's a 2.
Oh, okay, all right.
I think JVR skill wise probably would have standed a better chance.
Not disagreeing with you at all. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Trying to be nice to him because I think Knuble might get blown out by our second round opponent. But
well, hey.
Anyway, because here's who is
one round at a time. That's
yeah.
You got to worry about one round when it comes to brackets. Come on.
Yeah, there you
go. here's who his potential second round opponent's going to be, and if anyone picks RJ Umberger, I'll slap you. So
it's a far drive.
The 4th seed is Danny Briere. Yeah, but I'm pulling a Shane right now, so you better not pick and then the 13th seed is RJ Umberger. So Danny Briere has 124 goals, especially because of his second tenure. 156 assists and 280 points in his career here with the Flyers. RJ Umberger, not to his own fault, but in his first tenure, did pretty well. and then in his second tenure was putrid after we traded Scott Hartnell for him and got him back. But he had 60 goals, 82 assists, and 142 points. Again, good player his first tenure. Really liked him his first tenure. Wasn't his own fault. It was Paul Holmgren's fault, but still was not good his second tenure, which is really what drops him really far down the list. If he was a player the Flyers kept and he ended up doing as well as he did in Columbus, he probably would have been higher than a third pick. But he's a guy that had to be there because of that second tenure, and that makes me put Briere over him. I mean, if we talk about a guy that was just dynamic for the Flyers on the power play, just having a regular shot, setting up guys when it came to playmaking, 5-on-5 to power play, also coming up clutch whenever needed, ergo that Boston series when we came back 3-0. So Daniel Briere was always there every step of the way. I also think they should have let him play his final year out, but instead of buying him out like they did. But that's another topic. But I would go with Danny Briere over RJ Umberger there, and then shoot this one to Steele first.
Danny Briere, Mr. Playoff.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
Derek
I'm done.
Like
Can I drop the microphone now? Is that how you're supposed to do that now? What? I just say Danny Briere and I drop the microphone and walk away, right? Is that how that works? This isn't even a competition for me. I love Danny Briere coming here playing with us. I love what he did with Giroux, taking him under his wing and showing him how to be a professional. And Danny Briere came up through the hard way, because he's a diminutive player. And RJ Umberger was in that sea of stringer guys that are just hanging on by the string that can make it to the NHL, because that's what I think RJ Umberger was. I honestly, he never really latched on with anybody else. And we had a string of players that we had come through our team that just were like fringe guys that could just be a little bit better than the AHL level, but not quite top six guys.
Columbus, though. I wouldn't necessarily. I don't know if I would say he didn't latch. He latched.
Yeah, but I mean, that's just kind of how I feel about him. I mean, look, he's a great hometown guy because he's from Pennsylvania, so that's great. But okay, that's about as far as it went with me.
Yeah.
Was not impressed with his game. There was nothing about RJ Umberger that made me go, all right, yeah, okay, cool, yeah, no.
No, I was just making the point. He also was another player, though, for argument's sake, that had his best seasons on a different team after we got rid of him. But Andrew, I don't know. Obviously, I think you're still go with Briere there. Like I said, he's kind of the Derek Jeter of our Flyers team, even where once it gets to the most crunch time, it kind of seemed like he could always pull a rabbit out of his hat and figure something out.
I'm absolutely going Danny Briere, but I don't think you can compare him to Derek Jeter. I feel like it's two different things, and they kind of got their teams two different places. But Briere's the easy.
I think we could compare him with Derek Jeter because no one likes Derek Jeter on our Phillies podcast. So if we're going by the weight of how they like him, then that's fine.
Briere's the easy choice here. Like Steele said, Mr. Playoffs. I mean, he was just unstoppable. He took Giroux under his wing. I mean, he was a great leader. He was a great veteran. Helped the team. Another guy. He was the fan favorite. Kind of latched on to all the fans. He understood what the game meant to the city. He always went out there, put everything on the line. And I mean, every time he scored, you love seeing his little extra goal.
Remember dance. When he punched the ref?
Yeah, I do remember that.
You remember when he accidentally punched the ref?
Yeah,
I do remember that. So just everything about him was just outstanding, and I mean, I don't think. I mean, RJ Umberger, like you said, Joe, he had his better days when he left. So I don't think this one's close at all.
Yeah, he also had his better days his first tenure here, and then Paul Holmgren decided it was a bright idea to bring him back and get rid of Scott Hartnell. But that takes me to our next our next matchup, as we got number 8 Jaromir Jagr against number 9 Scott Hartnell, and I also should have flipped those seeds. I'm realizing that now, but too late to now. Anyway, Jagr in his one season here in 11 and 12 was a beast on a line with Giroux. He had 19 goals, 35 assists, and 54 points. And then Hartnell for his career was obviously great, setting up in the slot in the middle on the power play, as well as being a great playmaker and scorer for us in general with 250 goals, 287 assists, and 537 points of his total 7 and some change points in his career. So I will go to Andrew first for this one. And Andrew, are you picking Jaromir Jagr as probably honestly might even though it be a ace seed upset? He also got the AC probably because of how great he played with G in his career. And then Hartnell, who was also the line mate, oddly enough, on that line with Claude Giroux and Jaromir Jagr. So who are you picking there?
Listen, I know I love Jagr. He's obviously a NHL legend. He plays till he's 45. I mean, obviously he's gonna get into the Hall of Fame and everything. But when you look at this and you break it down to strictly Flyers, I gotta go with Scotty Hartnell. I mean, you compare. I mean, they were here at the same time. You compare their 11-12 season, and you have first off Hartnell plays the full 82, so he gets him in that. You mentioned them being on the line together at times, and you compare everything, and Hartnell just had the better year. I mean, 67 points to 54 points, 37 goals to 19 goals. Jagr gets him an assist, 35 to 30 that season, but that's still pretty close. But like I said, obviously, both were tremendous players. Jagr is obviously the better NHL guy, but when you break it down to just Flyers tenure, just even strictly off that one season, you can throw out Hartnell's other ones. I got to stick with Hartnell in this one.
I agree with you. I mean, he's a great player for the Flyers during a much longer tenure than Hartnell here. And that line, and I'll let Steele react to this, but that line when they were together that year, talking about Giroux's development, having Jagr come in for that 1 year and having Hartnell when he paired, that line was ridiculous and also very much so helped Giroux's development early in his career. So, Steele, I'll let you expand on that a little bit and give what your thoughts are on Scott Hartnell versus Jaromir Jagr matchup.
Well, if you go to just what they did while they were here, and what Jagr did was he instilled some things into Giroux, I think, and some of the other players, like Voracek, that he was there in the morning with the keys to open up the rink. Okay. So, yeah, I agree. Jagr, Hall of Fame player. Honestly, he's a Flyer killer as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Yeah. And the fact that we're even talking about him as a bracket on the Flyers is just a testament to how good this guy really is. To be the age that he is and to be playing at the level that he was able to play at with us. Having said that, you cannot deny the fact that somebody that throws a glove to help stop a puck, and every time he falls down, somebody makes a donation to a charity. Hartnell down all the way.
That was awesome. That was awesome on him doing
did you guys ever see that game where he threw his glove to try and stop the puck?
Yeah, to try to stop the and then they got a penalty shot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He threw it off the guy.
I am all down for a player that is willing to use his equipment to make a stop to try to win a game. Now, that to me just shows dedication. So, if you go based off of just the one season that Jagr played with us and the best season that Hartnell played with us, which is pretty close to the same year, you still have to go with Hartnell. I love Jagr's dedication. I love the fact that he's at the age that he is and is going to be a Hall of Famer. But when you go based off of just their tenure and everything that they did. I mean, I got to go with Scotty Hart. I got to go with Hartnell on this one.
Yeah, Hartsey has to be in this one for me. He, like I said, how dynamic he was in the power play for us too before Schenner came in and
Oh man,
teach him how to do that middle crease setup for the one timer, and then that's what made Braden Shen so good on the power play. Well, so Hartnell's a guy that I have to lean with there, and then this next one is an interesting matchup where we're going between two goaltenders, which is John Van Briesbroek, who played in the latter years of his career here in Philadelphia at the age of 35 and 36 in 98 and 99 and 99 2000. And he had a 902 save percentage and a 906 respectively, with a 219 goals against and a 220 goals against. Plus, he also had the goals against, adjusted goals against average that year of 2.58 and 2.48 compared to Roman Czechmanek, who during his career here in 0001 finished fourth in the Hart and second in the Vezina with a 921 save and a 201 goals against. And then he finished sixth in All-Star voting the following season with a 921 save and 205 goals against. In those seasons, his adjusted goals against average was a 2.28 and a 2.44. Then in his final year in Philly at the age of 31, it was a 2.13 with a 1.83 goals against and a 925 save percentage, where he finished seventh in the Vezina and first in the Jennings and fifth in All-Star voting. So between Roman Czechmanek and John Van Briesbroek, I know who I'm going to pick between these two, so I'll go last because I want to see your guys' explanations. I'll go to Andrew first with this one.
I'm gonna go with Roman Czechmanek. I think first off, what a story for him. I don't know why he started so late, but comes in at the age of 29. Like, that's just incredible, and then still does that well in the league. I mean, you look at his time here with the Flyers in 3 years. A total. I mean, you mentioned his goal against average that 02-03 season, 183 or 1.83 in 58 games played. He gets 33 wins. I mean, that's just incredible numbers right there. And then overall, his time here with the Flyers, in 3 years, he had under 1.96. So I think incredible job there, and well, a great story there as well. I mean, starting so late, and it's not like one of those just starting late and then not being successful kind of shots at it. He started late and was very successful. Very successful career with the Flyers. And I mean, you compare these two guys, and I mean, you have John get 33 wins in 2 years, and then, like I said, Roman gets 92 in 3 years. So I mean, you can tell the significant difference there. Because even in 1 year's absence, for him to catch Czechmanek in that case, he's gonna need to get about 60 wins there to kind of come close to him. So I think that says it all right there.
Yeah, which would have not happened at the age of 36, most likely. So, I agree. I agree with you. It has to be Chermont, but I want to see Steele's reason, because this guy was a great story. Andrew's completely right on that. He was right before I thoroughly was able to comprehend everything I watched, because I was only 3 when he started playing, but I saw a lot
oh man,
of him afterwards. So we'll let you expound on Czechmanek, who is a 6th round pick in the 2000, I believe.
No, I think Andrew hit it on the head, man. He came out as a 29-year-old rookie. Okay. And you just don't see that happening in the NHL. And very rarely do you see it happening with a goalie.
Mm-hmm.
And so one night I'm sitting there and I'm watching the game and everything's cool, and Roman Czechmanek's in, and it was Gary Dornhofer and Jim Jackson and Steve Coates were announcing the game on TV. And I can't remember who they were playing, but Czechmanek took a puck off of his head. to make a save. Like, he put his head literally in the way of the puck.
Oh yeah, he like headbutted it.
Yeah, right. So Jim Jackson comes out and calls it a cranium carom. So now, if you get a save named by Jim Jackson, you got to go with that guy.
Yeah.
Czechmonic, I think, was a much better goalie, hands down, than Van Beesbrook. I understand why Beezer was brought in, and he did what he was supposed to do when he came in, and that's great. But I really liked Czechmonic's game. He was one of those guys where it was like, wow, man, another guy that we should have kept a hold of, but didn't. I mean, that seems to be like a running theme with us, like how many guys have we had on this list that we're like, hey, we should have kept a hold of that guy? Yeah.
That
a lot.
or how many guys have we said went on to win, or before they got here went on to win a cup, and we're still here searching for her cup.
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, it's painful. It's painful going through these and being like, oh, this guy won a cup when he left, and it's like, how many times can we say that?
Does you just feel like the Flyers are the farm team for the NHL?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like, for the longest time when we had Holmgren and Bobby Clark and those guys for the GM, it was like we were the farm team for the NHL, because if you wanted to get draft picks, all you had to do was come to the Flyers. And any decent prospect that we had, all you had to do was wave somebody in front of our face, and we were like, okay, we'll trade for that guy.
That's entirely true. They finally backed off of that with Hextall.
Exactly.
The one that's
go ahead, Andrew.
The one that still gets me is their entire time here, they were both fan favorites in Mike Richards and Jeff Carter, and all we wanted was to see them win the Stanley Cup, and then we trade them, and then they go on to win 2 with the Kings. It's like, I mean, it's great for them because, again, it's what we wanted because they were fan favorites.
And for us, because those trades did really help us in the end. When you,
in a way, I guess, but I mean, how many times have the Flyers made it out of the first round?
Oh yeah, but those trades, I mean, helped us get like Couturier and helped us get players that helped us to move other like Shen we got in the.
Okay, but I understand where you're coming from on that, but all I have to do is say this: how many times is Jeff Carter and Mike Richards' name on the cup? How many?
That doesn't have to just do with them either. That has to do with they.
Agreed.
But my point is, like, how much? I don't get me wrong. I'm pretty sure we got Simmons in one of those deals too, and I like the guy. I like some of the guys we got, but like to an extent, like how much did it really help us if you think about it? Like what we made it out of the first round like once, maybe twice since that trade. So
I'll tell you what. If we make it to the playoffs, or if we make it to deep into the like we're all trying and hoping and wishing that we do, right? And we can raise the cup this year, then I would say those trades came good, because then Couturier can raise the cup over his head. Or if he at least wins the Selke, then I could say, all right, that was okay. That's a fair trade. But until then, no.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it. Those were the toughest. That was on the day of the 23rd, which is a folklore day, June 23rd in Flyers history. A lot of stuff tends to happen that day, other than this year because we were at a pause. But now we'll move on to our 2 versus 15, and then end with our 3 versus 14. Our 2 versus 15 is another guy that I know, well, at least I know my friend really liked him. I don't know about overall fans. I liked him while I was here. Andre Mazzaros for a couple of years. He was 20 goals, 44 assists, 64 points. The guy appeared for you on the power play. He could make the pass up the ice well, and was a good passing and facilitating defenseman against Hall of Famer, which, of course, had his best years again. Another guy that had his best years with somebody else. But 180. He had great years in Philly, but we should have kept him to have his whole Hall of Fame career. But, that's not here nor there. Anyway, he had 186 goals, 314 assists, and 500 points here in Philly, which is fantastic. But he then went on to do almost equally fantastic with the rest of his other team. So I'm picking Mark Recchi here because of how great he was. He was like Gagne, one of the first people that drawed me into watching the sport of hockey. The dude was so good at doing whatever the hell he wanted to do on the ice, pretty much. And he could also kick your ass, really, if he felt like it on a certain given day. Like, he wouldn't do it always and usually, but if he wanted to fight you at 5'10", Recchi could also fight you, and he was freaking 5'10". So, I mean, the guy had skill. He was an all-star. If he felt like it that day and was feeling pissed off, he could also fight you and probably make you look terrible when you're 6'4" and lose to someone that's 5'10". But so that he's also from one of the best named areas of Canada. He's from Kamloops, British Columbia, or Kamloops. I don't know how to say it, but that's a fantastic name for an area. So Mark Recchi is definitely my pick here. And then I'll go to Steele first for this one.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Although we're trying to compare a forward to a defenseman, okay, and I really liked Mazzaros when he was here. He was a Barry Ashby Award winner for the Flyers, so that's the best defenseman for the Flyers. So it's not that he wasn't a good player, but I think it makes it that much more difficult because he was a defenseman and Recchi not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why you can't really look at like numbers or anything like that. So based off of just their time here in Philadelphia, man, I love Mark Recchi, and I wish we could have just kept a hold of him and he could have just stayed a Flyer for the rest of his career. But I'm actually going to have to go with Mazzaros on this.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, why not?
Yeah, I'll still have to go with Recchi because they brought him back and then he did great.
Yeah.
In his 30s, he had 28, 27, and 22, respectively, goals total. So that's what pissed me off the most about the Recchi thing. You literally had him, got rid of him to Montreal, then you're like, oh, wait a minute. That was the worst mistake of our lives.
Yeah.
And then you went to trade for him back a few years later, and then he had great years into his 35 year here, age season here, excuse me, because he had 26 goals at the age of 35 for Philly. Then we, of course, let him go again, and he continued to do good up until he retired at 42 in Boston. So he was a guy that they had left, brought back, and then they let go again, where people would have definitely, the second time he came back, would have loved to see Recchi probably never have left. But, Andrew, I'll turn this over to you to see if we have a big upset here or if we're going with Mark Recchi.
So this is really tough because, you both make great arguments, and like Steele said, it's hard to compare a defenseman to a forward like that, and seeing what they have to offer. Like you guys mentioned, Recchi's best days were after he left the Flyers, and
he had good years here.
No, I'm not saying he didn't have good years here. I'm saying his best days though were not in a Flyers uniform. I don't know if you agree with that, but like
that's true. He'd have two of his best seasons here with 92, 93, and 93, 94 when it was 123 and 107 points. So that was before he left, and then he came back and was still dominant. That's why I gave him the nod, because if you can come back and still get 91 points in your 30s and then in the high 70s and then 60s, when you've been going for that much readjusting back to the system, that has weight to me as well. That's what swayed it for me.
Yeah, no, I get that point, and we see him go on to win the cup 3 times, and obviously, like you said, he's in the Hall of Fame. And I mean, one thing to mention, and one thing that I don't know, this one's really hard to pick because again, they're two different positions, and they both were great players. And as Steele mentioned, Mazzaros wins the Defenseman Award for the Flyers, so he obviously had accolades there with the team. And he helped the Flyers get to the postseason at different times. And this was tough, but I think I do have to lean. I think I'm going to go with the 2 seed here in Mark Recchi, just because again, I guess his overall game helped kind of carry different aspects on the ice, and Eventually leads to a Hall of Fame spot because, I mean, like I said, his best days might not have been here, but he's still really good. So his days here definitely did help him get that Hall of Fame nod as well. So I don't think that was just strictly from his time away from the Flyers. So I think that's going to give him the slight edge on this one.
Yeah, that's what did it for me, especially when he dominated he was injured when he the 1 year a little bit he played 69 games. Other than that, when he came back from 31 on, he played a very good amount of games and was successful all of those years. His worst season was 52 points, and that was still 20 goals and 32 assists. So I'll take that any day of the week. It's going to be
Yeah, really. I mean, look, I'm not disagreeing with you on that at all. I'm not saying that like I said, I loved Recchi. I thought he was one of the one of those great, generational players. And it was kind of funny to listen to Jim Jackson always called him the diminutive one.
Yeah,
Every time.
yeah, I remember he's
Yeah, he's 5'11" or whatever on skates, But yeah, you were exactly right, man. He didn't care. He was gonna throw. He was gonna throw his gloves down. He was gonna tackle you if he had to. You know what I mean? So you gotta love a guy with fire like that, And
He
but
probably threatened Chora in practice, and Chora is what 27.
yeah,
He's
yeah.
surprised if he messed around threatening him in practice. Like, I'll beat your ass. Like, oh, okay.
But no, I mean, I went with what they did in Philadelphia. I'm not saying that Recchi wasn't great in Philadelphia. He was a good player here, but I just like what the game that Mazzaros brought, and plus the fact that it made it difficult for me because Recchi being a winger and
Yeah,
uh, and Mazzaros being a defenseman.
yeah.
So that's why I went Mazzaros. So
That was just bound to happen with some matchups because when I see other seeding, it's going to happen in ladder rounds anyway. So some of them might just let it go in the first round to get it over with to have a matchup against forward because it's bound to happen anyway and make it tough eventually. But for the sake of time wise, since we're at the 52-minute mark, now we'll move on to our third seed versus our 14th seed, which is another fan favorite who's now always in the area as an announcer in Jonesy against Jeremy Roenick. So Keith Jones had in his 98 season to 0001 27 goals, 47 assists, and 74 points, where JR had 67 goals, 106 assists, and 173 points. Obviously, on this one, I'm going to be going with Roenick, and I believe most other people are probably going to go with Jeremy Roenick, but I'll turn it over to I believe I went with Steele last time, so Andrew first this time to see what your decision is there if you're going with the potential future Hall of Famer Jeremy Roenick.
Yeah, I gotta go with Roenick on this one. I don't think it's too close. I will say I was always tempted to pick Jones just because I love what he does now with WIP and what he does for the Flyers overall and announcing. I think he's really good at that. And honestly, I mean, the way his career kind of shaped out to be with the Flyers, I mean, he only plays 8 games his last year here. Yeah, I feel like he struggled at different times. So I feel like his media days in Philadelphia are almost better than his playing days here in Philadelphia. Nothing against him. I just feel like this is the way it kind of shaped out due to the way his career kind of came to an end when he got here. Because if you look at his numbers with Washington, they weren't bad. They were pretty good overall and stuff you take on some of those later lines on your team. But yeah, like you said, future Hall of Famer Roenick, and I mean what he did here in Philadelphia was really good and pretty easy decision here to go Roenick.
Well, caveat he should whether the writers eventually vote him or not remains to be seen. Because if you keep letting this linger amongst U.S. voters, Roenick's numbers are going to depreciate as time goes on. As you have Patrick Kane's of the world, like you have to vote him. He can't be a guy that 25 years after the fact gets voted in because his numbers are not going to stock up after that amount of time. So they gotta. He deserves to be in, but he's a guy that already deserved to be in my opinion. But anyway, Steele, I don't know who you're picking.
going JR all the way. Going JR all the way. This guy was the shot in the arm that our team needed. He was the face of the franchise. He was the guy out there having fun. He was the guy out there messing with the rookies at the pre-skate during the warm-ups. I mean, he was exactly the perfect fit in Philadelphia as far as I'm concerned. He was tough. He was gritty. He would fight you. He had an amazing shot. Oh my gosh, that guy could shoot the freaking puck.
Yeah.
But
And he could also pass it with the.
oh my God, man.
Great
Oh my, what a playmaker. What a playmaker that guy was. And watching him play the Toronto series was amazing. That sold me on JR right there, watching him play and watching him get hit with the puck and get completely opened up and go back in the locker room, get stitched up, and come back out on the bench. Okay.
Player. Yeah.
I'm picking that guy.
Yeah. No, it's definitely Roenick, and Roenick's a guy, as far as I'm concerned, should have been in already, but he has to get in next couple of years, like they were talking about after the Hall of Fame announcement this year as a wrap up in our last minute or so of the podcast, because he deserves to be. And the guy has 1,216 points in 1,363 games, 513 goals, 706 assists, and a plus minus career of 153. That if that doesn't spell Hall of Famer, I don't know what needs to knock you on the head to spell that. Be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, really.
As an American-born player, because right behind Mike Modano probably is Jeremy Roenick right now, unless if it goes Modano because Kane might have passed him by now, and then Jeremy Roenick. That's the only way it would be. But still, third best makes you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, agreed.
Does the NHL not do a ballot limit?
Like they don't.
MLB does?
NHL is nothing like the MLB. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't do that. I actually like their voting strategy a little bit better, because if you have someone on years later that's like, why the hell is this guy not in? They can then petition and like kind of beat everybody's ass and be like, yo, this guy needs to get in the Hall of Fame before I pick him.
Got you.
Like that's probably what kind of happened with Lowe, because like he won 6 cups. He was a foundation piece of the Oilers championship runs, and he has to be in there. And he was also considered the leader. If you ask Mark Messier and Wayne Gretzky, neither of them were considered the leader of that team. It was Kevin Lowe. So that's why he got in. But anyway, as we're entering the last 2 minutes here, this has been our next bracket episode. We appreciated Steele joining us again. It's been a blast, and I'm going to turn it over to him first to give his handles and everything. So have at it, Steele.
Guys, thank you very much for having me. Once again, it's been an honor. It feels really great working with such great professionals, and I feel very blessed to even be asked to come on here and be with you guys. So kudos to what you guys are doing, man. Big props to what you guys are doing. You can reach me on Twitter at Steel Flyers. You can also find me on the web, www.steelflyers.com. That's coming real soon. And also the Steel Flyers podcast is out there on Google, Spotify, all your favorite spots. So go find me there on the Steel Flyers podcast, and Facebook site coming up soon too.
Yeah, and then before I hand it over to Andrew, both of us are on Pub Sports Radio as writers. We both work for CTP, Chasing the Pennant podcast, and that we'll have another episode probably coming out Sunday. And JJ Boric 26 is my Twitter. True_Philly Sport is our podcast Twitter. And now I turn it over to Andrew. Have a wonderful and blessed day, everybody, to give his handle.
Yeah, like Joe mentioned, we both work for Pub Sports Radio. Along with writing with them, I do a Tuesday night baseball show. Starts at 5 o'clock Central, 6 o'clock Eastern. Then, like you said, Chasing the Pennant podcast. You can find us at ANYP Phillies. And then I do one with Philly _sports now. And then, of course, here at True_Philly Sports. I just want to say have a great 4th of July weekend, everyone. Stay safe and enjoy the weekend as best we can through these times. And go Flyers.
Yeah, go Flyers. Are you ready for some hockey, as they say in Philly? Because it's coming quick. It seems like now June 10th is still on track. So get ready, Flyers.
July.
July
Oh,
10th.
July.
Still on track.
Actually, no, I heard it might be July 13th, but
I
hey,
heard
man,
it
we'll
might
take
be
that.
July 13th, but apparently
Yeah.
I saw a tweet today that they said it might be July 10th still from Colby Cohen. So as long as
Oh,
that's
okay.
correct, then it would stay as July 10th, apparently. But have a great and pleasant day, everybody. This has been True Philadelphian Sportscast, the grittiest take for Steel Flyers and Andrew Santangelo. I am Joe Boric. Peace out, everybody.